What do you get if you mix a selfie stick with some string, a water bottle, and some 3D printed bits of plastic, and then throw this little guy in? You get an ultralight, ultra portable camera crane that will elevate, oh yeah, see what I did there, the shots possible with the Osmo Pocket 3. I'm about to head off on a 6-week trip cycling around Sri Lanka, filming as I go, and I've got a 40 kilogram strict baggage allowance. In order to get the beautiful cinematic shots that I want, I'm having to push the kit to its limits and really make the most of all the stuff that I take out with me. One piece of equipment that really adds gloss to pretty much any shoot is a camera crane or a jib. And I've used them on shoots around the globe, including when I was filming on Wild Sri Lanka, and we had one out on that shoot, and we used it quite a bit. They add a really beautiful floating feeling to the camera, and they're actually really useful as well in places that you can't fly drones, like national parks and around animals that are frightened by drones. They let you achieve that aerial perspective without getting a noisy little drone up in the air. The main problem with cranes is that they're big and bulky and heavy, and also require, on top of the weight of the actual crane, they require a lot of counterweight. And so often on shoots we'll end up taking weight plates that weightlifters use around with us. So that's not going on my bike, but I really want that movement, so I've decided to make my own and design my own ultralight camera crane. There are a few design criteria. It has to use the Osmo Pocket 3. It needs to be lightweight and portable, and it has to use as many things as I already am carrying with me as possible. So I'm not adding extra weight onto my bike, I'm just using things that I will already be bringing to build it. So that's sort of my design brief, that's what I had in my head when I was coming up with this idea, and I've been thinking about it quite a lot since. I designed stuff in CAD and then printed it in the 3D printer. They're fresh off the 3D printer. I've added some heat set inserts. I've not actually put it all together yet. In my head it works, but until I put it together, I won't actually know. So I'm going to take you downstairs because I won't actually be able to fit it in my office. Fingers crossed, all my plans and calculations come together nicely. It's a bit wobbly, but we have a plan. This is it. It's a 3-meter long selfie stick that forms the base of it, and then I've 3D printed this tube clamp that attaches onto the stick, and then in the bottom of it I put some 1/4-inch threads so I could attach the tripod plate onto the bottom. I used 2 of the 15mm rods that were actually in my FX6 kit. They support the long lens on my camera, and so I'm already taking them with me. And then on top of them I made this little hat that supports the string that goes from the end to the other end, and that stops this all from wobbling around too much. The carbon fibre tubes at the far end are fairly thin, and even though the Osmo is really light, it'll still wobble around quite a lot with it on the end. So this really stops that from happening. In fact, it's the same design that almost every crane that I've used has. It has this big frame over the top, but the fact that this is string rather than steel wire makes it much stronger. And actually, I might swap this paracord out for some Dyneema rope, which is even lighter and even stronger. But what about the water bottle? I hear you shouting through your screens right now. It's not to stop me getting dehydrated. Well, it is, that's why I'm taking it on the cycle ride. But in terms of this rig, it is to provide counterbalance. Because we have 2.5 meters on the front of this crane and then only about 0.5 meter at the back, the camera has a lot of leverage on it. And even though it weighs about 250 grams, I'm going to have to put a lot of weight on the back here. And I've calculated it's about 1.5 kilos, and that's exactly what this holds, 1.5 litres. So if all my calculations are correct, if I strap this on the back here and put the camera on the front there, it should be pretty balanced. But the nice thing about using water is if it doesn't balance, if it's a bit too back heavy, I can just tip some out and get it finely tuned. And another thing that I can do, if it's not quite working, is I can slide the pole either forwards or backwards, and that will help find that balance point as well. So I've got a couple of little tricks, but yeah, let's get the camera on, fill this up with water, and see if it balances. Look at that, perfectly balanced. That's so cool. Well, I'm amazed that the idea works. Calculations were correct, and I didn't even have to let any water out. There is a bit of wobble. We go side to side, but that's what the string's taking out at the top. So as long as I don't wiggle it too much like that, we should be good. Now I know that it's going to work. I would go outside, but it's pretty minging. So I'm not going to test it right now. Hopefully I'll get a chance to before I go to Sri Lanka. But I think the main test of it is going to be when I'm out there. I'm going to mount my phone here so I can trigger the Osmo, and we can also have it flipped upside down so we can do nice sweeping shots. I'm excited to get out and use it. The Osmo Pocket is such an amazing camera, especially the fact that it only weighs 250 grams. So I think it's going to allow us to do a lot of cool things with it. What's even more amazing is the fact that it weighs less than 1 kilogram when you take the water out of the water bottle. It's a really, really capable rig. I've put the STL file for this rig up for sale on naturalhistorylabs.com, and I will be making some kits when I'm back from Sri Lanka. So make sure you sign up on the waitlist on the website if you're interested in getting a full kit. It's something that if you've got an Osmo Pocket, you'll really want to add it onto your setup, because look at it. It's just going to add so much production value. I'm going to be using this a lot more while I'm out in Sri Lanka, and there's a lot more stuff coming up over the coming weeks. So make sure you stay tuned, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you soon.